Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video, and today we're going to take a deep look into IEOs, the new buzzword, initial exchange offerings. What exactly are they? I mean, are they similar to an ICO? How do they operate? Who's vetting the projects? Are they worth looking into? Are there opportunities there? We're going to discuss all that today. So stick around guys, and let's get into the video. So what exactly is an IEO? Well, an IEO stands for an initial exchange offering. And essentially it's like, it's basically an ICO, but it's being conducted by a third party. It's being conducted by an exchange. So essentially what these exchanges do is they receive applications from various projects that want to sell their tokens, that want to crowdfund and then use that token within their platform. They perform a vetting process, and based on the exchange's own criteria for listing one of these ICOs, they then list them on their own exchange. Now, the key thing is here, the biggest exchanges out there, which we're going to look into in this video, have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users. So these projects that get listed on these exchanges get access to a lot of people who get exposure to their project, who get advertising for their project, and essentially get the opportunity to invest into their project. So it's a huge deal for projects to get listed onto these exchanges. So the way these exchanges do it is most of them will use their own native token. So we're going to look into that as well. So for example, with Binance, Binance has the BNB token. So originally when Binance was listing projects on their Launchpad, which is what they call their IEO service, they would accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, or their native token. But it looks like Binance have now changed that and are only accepting their native token in exchange for the IEO projects token. Now they're doing this for a couple of reasons. One is they want to increase the utility of their own token, which kind of is what all projects should be doing, is looking for additional use cases. And in doing so, they can maybe give additional discounts, or they can do other things around that as well. Now, some considerations and really some detail around how these actually work. The exchange is essentially acting as the custodian. So with traditional ICOs, that was the wild, wild west. I mean, if you think back to early 2017, I mean, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Even, leading up into 2018, the amount of ICOs that were going on, it was the wild, wild west. So the huge advantage I see with these IEOs is you have exchanges essentially taking on the counterparty risk of vetting the project and listing the project and ensuring that it's not a scam before investors go and buy it. And it's important to note that despite the change in terminology, despite the change in the mechanism or facilitation of acquiring tokens, you are still participating in an ICO. It's the same thing. You should still be looking into these projects the exact same way as you would be doing with an ICO. But traditionally the ICOs the good ones would use a smart contract that would exchange their native token to you instantaneously in return for your token. So there'd be code that would do it. Some projects did it manually based on spreadsheets and things, which was just, I can't understand for the life of me why any would actually do that, but some did. But the exchange is taking custodianship of those for you. So they would deposit these tokens directly into a wallet on the exchange for you. And another benefit to these IEOs as well is generally the exchanges will provide instant liquidity and list that token on their exchange upon conclusion or at the beginning of the IEO start date. So as an investor, there's a lot of benefits here because the exchange is taking on the risk. They're taking on the counterparty risk of handling the tokens on behalf of the project and the investor. They're vetting the project to make sure it is legitimate, it is within regulatory guidelines, and that it's not a scam. They're providing liquidity as well for an investor. So especially an exchange like Binance, the largest exchange by trading volume in the world for digital assets, you're getting instant liquidity on a major exchange. That's a huge bonus as well. And generally, although this is subjective, the project should be of high quality, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail at the end of this video. So here we are looking in front on the screen. We're looking at Binance Launchpad. So Binance, that's what they call their IEO platform. And as we can see, they've run a few projects. They've run Gifto, they've run Bread, they've run BitTorrent, Fetch, and Seller. And you'll see down here, this is what I was saying before, they took Ethereum and Binance with their initial ones. I thought they took Bitcoin, but obviously they didn't. And then with the Bread wallet, they did the same thing. They took Ethereum and then Binance. Same with BitTorrent, so they took the Binance token and Tron. And then with Fetch, they took Binance, and Seller, they took Binance. And you can see they're all a success. And that's because Binance has access to so many millions of people. I mean, you're going to have people putting money into these things no matter what, just because they're getting instant liquidity. They're just going to assume that they're going to get a pump and they're going to liquidate just for short-term profits. So that's one thing you guys need to consider if you're looking at actually investing into these projects that are under the IEO classification. Just because they are on an exchange, just because they have been vetted by an exchange, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a value-adding project, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a winner in the long term as well. Yeah, we always have to demarcate the token and its utility from the project and the quality of the project. So anyway, this is Binance Launchpad. Binance is really the exchange that pioneered the IEO, and it seems that all the other exchanges are actually just copying them. So you can see here, going into the details of the Binance Launchpad, they give you some details around like kind of high level details around the project. So instead of you having to go to the website and source all this information yourself, they've kind of put it in a nice summarized way to make it quicker and easier for investors to do that vetting process themselves. So obviously you're going to have KYC, that's a given. They'll have the following jurisdictions not able to participate. So this is another probably positive as well, is the biggest exchanges, the best, the most professional exchanges are regulated or are doing their best to fit within regulatory guidelines, even though there's still a lot of uncertainty out there in the space at the moment. So by participating in an IEO, you're generally going to have you're generally going to feel, it's generally lower risk, I guess is what I'm trying to allude to. Because these exchanges are regulated, they're not going to list a token that is a security, because that's another, STOs are a completely different ballgame. STOs have nothing to do with this at this point. They're generally not going to list a security, they're not going to list a scam coin, they're going to list tokens that they know fit within that utility token, that existing regulatory framework that has been established up to this point. Not forgetting how quickly this space changes all the time. So here we have project introduction, we have key features, then the seller, token sale, and economics. And they'll give you the token allocation, the release schedule, blah, blah, blah. Pretty sort of standard stuff if you've been looking into ICOs a lot. Now for seller token, like I said, you needed the Binance coin to participate. As we can see over here, you can see seller BNB session. So you needed to actually go and buy the Binance coin as like an access token to participate. And like I said earlier, this provides the Binance coin more utility. The one great thing about Binance is they're continually looking for additional ways to bring utility to their token. And even though that may be a slight inconvenience to people who actually want to participate in the ICO because they need to go and buy the coin, at the end of the day, to Binance coin holders, that's a positive thing because they want more and more utility to come to that coin. It's giving it more use cases. So that's Binance. That's a Binance IEO in a nutshell. Moving on, we have Coupcoin. Now, Coupcoin has really kind of followed in the footsteps, I think followed in the wake of Binance in terms of the entire model. It's a digital asset exchange, it has its own token, they're looking for different utilities, and their spotlight is analogous to Binance's Launchpad. It's their IEO platform. So here we have a session that's going to be listed in 7 days for this multi-vac KCS. I have no idea about the project at all. You can see very similar. They have some of the requirements here: KYC, some countries not supported, purchase agreement. They have a project introduction, some basic information, a video, blah blah blah. Look, very similar. They've copied Binance for this. They've got the token release schedule, and then they have the token allocation. Now, similar to Binance, to participate in the Coupcoin sale, the Coupcoin IEO that they have here for this multivac, you need to have the Coupcoin shares. So you would need to go and buy the Coupcoin shares, probably off either their own exchange or wherever they've got it listed. Yeah, you can see it's actually only on their own exchange. So you need to send some Bitcoin to the exchange, you then need to buy some of the Coupcoin shares, and then you need those to participate. Also keeping in mind that some of these IEO platforms have a minimum requirement of either their token or a dollar value. So some of them might have a minimum requirement of $1,000 US dollars worth of their token to participate. So that's something to keep in mind if you do think of participating in these projects. Now next up we have Huobi. So Huobi's platform is called Huobi Prime, and they don't have a lot of information about it on their website, but on their blog they've got a lot more information. So Huobi Global's come out with this new platform, this new IEO platform where they list projects. You can participate in the projects using their token. I mean, it's essentially exactly the same as Binance and Coupcoin. They go through the vetting process, they vet these projects, and they list projects that in their own criteria, their own evaluation criteria that they deem as high quality, they're the projects that they're going to list. Keeping in mind and remembering, guys, each of these exchanges is going to have their own criteria for listing projects. There is still a profit margin. These exchanges are not just doing this as a favor. There is a profit incentive for these exchanges to list these projects. They are getting likely a percentage of the sale of these token sales. So this is a for-profit instrument. Whilst there are advantages to investors by participating, if you're looking at participating in one of these projects because of the vetting, because of the regulatory, the lower risk on the regulatory side, there is still a for-profit motive as well. So just something to keep in mind. This is business, separating ideology from business. This is business, okay? So just something to keep in mind as well, to stay extremely objective if you're looking at these projects. So Huobi Prime, you're going to need the token to participate as well. That's the Huobi token, the HT token. I'm not sure where you can get this one. Looks like you can get it on some other exchanges other than just Huobi Global. If you want to go and look at where you can get these things, then you can go and look at CoinMarketCap. Now, the next exchange that's also doing this feature is Bittrex. Now, Bittrex was actually was an established exchange prior to Binance, prior to Coupcoin, and I'm not sure if it was prior to Huobi, but Bittrex is one of the long-running exchanges, you know, similar to Kraken, similar to Poloniex, and these guys have come out with their own IEO platform as well. Now, what I see the benefit to Bittrex is because they don't have a native token, so you can participate with Bitcoin. So they've got here, in order to participate in an IEO, you'll need to have sufficient Bitcoin in your Bittrex international account. You can deposit Bitcoin from your personal wallet or another service. So that's handy. You don't have to go and buy a native token to participate in these IEOs. And I really don't see Bittrex ever coming out with their own native token, because there's only one or two exchanges that are going to pull this off long term successfully, and I believe Binance is just leading the charge with that. So here's some more details on it. They've got one coming up, I believe, or one that might have just completed, called Veryblock. I think that was their first IEO. You can see some details here, very similar to the others. You know, if you've looked at a lot of these projects in the past, this is very standard information. The total sale supply, the initial coin supply, initial circulating supply, blah blah blah. And Bittrex would provide instant liquidity to this project as well. So it's straight on an exchange, and it can be traded for other coins. So just some things to consider, guys, if you do think about participating in one of these. Don't treat these projects any different than what you would have participated in an ICO. And what I mean by that is, still perform your fully detailed vetting process when you're looking into these projects. Now, looking at them, whether they're a scam, they're things that you're not going to have to put as much time into, because they're not. These exchanges would not list projects that are scams, because they are taking on the risk, they are taking on the liability in the event something goes wrong. Where are the fingers going to be pointing? Well, they're going to be pointing at the exchange first, I guarantee you, especially because these exchanges have so many users and a lot of people can participate in these IEOs in a very, very short amount of time. So they're going to be doing very significant due diligence on these projects. But in terms of the value of the projects, the token, their business model, don't treat them any different than what you would an ICO or any other coin that you consider buying. Spend the time, research them. Is there a need for it? What is the value proposition? What is the supply? How much supply is being kept by the team? When is that going to come onto the market? Is that going to affect the token price? How is the future liquidity going to be? Liquidity on one exchange is a risk, in my opinion. What happens if that exchange goes down? What if that exchange gets hacked? What if that exchange comes under regulatory pressure and has to close down, where you lose liquidity for that coin? You know, what's the business model? What are the team doing? These are the things that you need to be doing if you consider participating in one of these IEOs. No different from an ICO, but again, we do have those advantages, like I was saying before, because you have these pre-vetted projects. You have these exchanges putting their own reputations really on the line by listing these projects. I mean, big time. And another benefit I see actually is I think this is going to raise the standard of existing projects. And what I mean by that is, projects out there that are looking to raise funds would be clamoring to get listed on these exchanges because they sell out like instantly. Again, coming back to, they have access to so many millions of users. So what that's going to do is it's going to create kind of a funnel, kind of like a benchmark, a standard that projects are going to have to get to even be considered to be listed on these exchanges to get access to all those potential investors. And I think that's going to be overall a good thing for the industry. So in summary, I think the IEO is novel. I think it's the next iteration of an ICO. I think it's kind of rebranded, same kind of thing, just being handled now by a third party. But it is a huge step in the right direction. We have regulatory clarity because these IEOs are being listed on, you know, regulated exchanges. We have the vetting process, vetting the team and making sure they're not a scam before providing them to users. We have these exchanges putting their reputations on the line for their users. So overall, it's a good thing, but, you know, just be aware and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand, just like the ICO craze and the ICO mania did. So guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave us a like. If you haven't subscribed, definitely make sure to subscribe. Some really good content coming up on this channel. Leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video. Have you participated in an IEO? Are there any coming up that you like, any that you think are significant? And yeah, any questions or anything else in the comments, be sure to let me know. Thanks again for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.